You know that feeling when you're trying to learn a new language and you just get stuck? Like you're mentally translating every single word. It's so frustrating. Well, today, we're going to tear down an expert lesson plan that has a really powerful method to break that habit. It's all about how to start thinking and writing fluently right from the get-go. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so first things first, we've got to talk about this huge hurdle that pretty much every single language learner runs into. It's something called the translation trap.
I mean, you know exactly what I'm talking about, right? You've got this perfectly clear thought in your head, but then to get it out in another language, your brain just goes into overdrive. It's searching for every single word, trying to piece them together, all while you're just praying the grammar works out. It is a total mental traffic jam.
And that traffic jam in your head, it has a real cost. See, when you're translating word for word, it's not just slow. It almost always leads to these really awkward, clunky sentences, because you're basically trying to cram one language's rules into another. And honestly, it's just plain exhausting. So what we're aiming for is the complete opposite, something called direct thinking. This is where the words just flow. They're fast, they're natural, and you sound fluent.
So, the big question is, how do we actually get there? Well, the lesson plan we're digging into lays out a much more direct path, and it all kicks off with a really fundamental shift in how you think about it.
And here's the core idea, and it's actually kind of radical when you think about it. The goal is to bypass your native language completely, so you don't think in English and then translate it to French. No, the real goal is to build the thought from the ground up, in French, using the words and the grammar you already know.
And this quote just nails it. The goal isn't just to know French, but to use it. That's where real learning begins. I just love that because it gets right to the heart of the matter. This isn't about memorizing endless vocabulary lists. Real fluency, that comes from actively using the language. It needs to feel like a tool you can pick up and use, not just some subject you're studying in a textbook.
All right, so this all sounds fantastic in theory, right? But how do we actually do it? How do we make this happen? Well, that's the beauty of this lesson plan. It boils this whole approach down to 3 super simple, practical keys that will unlock your ability to write directly.
And the process just builds on itself really logically. So, step 1, you make a conscious choice to think directly in the language. Step 2, and listen, this one is so important, you use simple sentences. And step 3, you practice it actively, turning it into a habit. But it's that second step, the simple sentences, that's where the magic really happens.
So, why start simple? What's the big deal? Well, it's because simple is doable. It lets you create a whole, correct thought without getting tangled up in complicated grammar. Think about it. Every single simple sentence you write is a small victory. It's a little confidence boost. And these sentences, they're like the Lego bricks you'll use to build much bigger, more complex things down the road.
But okay, this is where the structure of this lesson gets really clever. See, it's not just telling you what to do, it's actually giving you a framework that's designed to turn these ideas into a real, ingrained habit.
I mean, just look at how this thing is built for action. This is 0% theory. The lesson plan actually carves out specific time for you to sit down and write. It literally tells you, okay, pause and do the work right now. And it all builds up to this brilliant little mini challenge.
And that whole mini challenge, it boils down to one simple number, 3. That's it. You're not being asked to write an essay or a novel, just 3 sentences. And the power in that is that it's so small, so incredibly achievable, that you basically have no excuse not to do it. And it's that daily consistency that builds the direct thinking habit.
And here is the final brilliant piece of the puzzle. The challenge isn't just to write any 3 sentences. It's to write 3 simple sentences about your day. This is what connects the language directly to your life. It's not some abstract grammar drill. You're literally describing your own world. And that makes the practice so much more meaningful and way easier to remember.
So, when you put all of these pieces together, right? The shift in mindset, the focus on simple sentences, and that small daily habit, what you end up with is a learning model that is just worlds apart from the old way we were all taught to do this.
And when you actually see it laid out side by side like this, the difference is just, it's night and day. Traditional learning, it throws complex grammar at you from day one, and it's all about passive memorization. But this method, it completely flips the script. It puts direct thinking first, starts you off with those simple, confidence-building blocks, and is all about active, daily practice.
So really, the big takeaway from analyzing this lesson plan is something that applies to, well, pretty much everything.
The most effective way to learn any skill isn't just about cramming your head with information. It's about having a clear, simple strategy and then actually putting it into practice, right away, every day, and in a way that's actually meaningful to you.
So I want to leave you with this final thought. Yeah, we've been talking about learning French, but think bigger. This applies to literally anything you want to learn, playing the guitar, learning to code, getting better at public speaking. What if the real secret to learning isn't about what you know, but about how you practice? What if we all stopped focusing so much on just cramming more stuff in and instead put our energy into building these small, smart, consistent habits? Just imagine what you could learn then.
So, let's get one thing straight right at the top. This isn't a French lesson, not at all. What we're actually going to do is pull back the curtain on a masterclass in how to teach something. We're going to deconstruct a brilliant blueprint for making the complex simple.
I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's the challenge for anyone trying to teach, well, anything. A new language, a piece of software, you name it. How do you share what you know without just drowning people in details? How do you actually make it stick?
Well, it turns out the answer isn't just throwing more information at the problem. It's about having a better structure. And the source material we're looking at today, an outline from a YouTube channel called Easy French, gives us this absolutely fantastic, and I think universally applicable blueprint for doing just that.
Okay, so we're going to walk through the actual architecture of this model. Think of it like a 7-step journey, one that's designed to take someone from being just curious to feeling confident, and it does it with incredible efficiency.
All right, so here it is. And look, this is so much more than just a simple list. It's actually a complete psychological pathway for a learner. You start with a hook to get their attention, you give them an intro to set the scene, and then you move right into the core: explanation, examples, and practice. Then, the secret sauce, the challenge, where they actually have to use the skill. You wrap it all up with a clean outro. It's this perfect, self-contained learning loop.
Now, any great blueprint needs a really strong, simple foundation to build on, right? For Easy French, that foundation is one single, unbreakable rule for how to build a sentence.
See, instead of burying you in all the exceptions and weird grammar rules, this whole blueprint starts with just one non-negotiable idea: subject plus verb plus object. That's it. And that clarity is everything. It gives a total beginner a solid piece of ground to stand on right from the get-go.
And this is where it all just clicks into place. You're not just told the rule, you can actually see it. It's like Legos: subject, verb, object. The pieces just snap together. It makes this abstract grammar idea totally tangible and, more importantly, super easy for a beginner to copy and start using immediately.
So, we have our formula. But, a recipe is kind of useless if you don't have the right ingredients. And the next piece of genius in this blueprint is how it chooses the building blocks, in this case, the verbs. This is so smart. The creator didn't give the learner 50 verbs, or even 10. They chose just 5. And not just any 5. These are verbs you use all the time. It's a really deliberate choice to stop the learner from getting paralyzed by too many options. With just this small toolkit, you can start building useful sentences right away. And that's a massive confidence booster. And boom, here's the blueprint in action. We take a subject, je, we grab one of our 5 core verbs, mange, and an object, une pomme. Simple, clear. It works. The learner has just made their very first successful creation. And look, here's another one. You just swap out the pieces. A new subject, a new verb, a new object, but the same formula creates a totally new, totally useful sentence. This shows you just how powerful and flexible the system is. You're not just memorizing phrases, you're actually learning how to generate your own thoughts.
Okay, but here's the absolute crucial point. Watching and understanding, that's not the same as learning. The real magic in this blueprint is how it forces a shift, moving the learner from being just a passive observer to an active participant.
On the left side, you've got what most of us do, passive viewing. You watch, you listen. It feels like learning, but that knowledge is so fragile. But on the right, you've got what this blueprint demands, active doing. That's for the real skill and memory get built. And the bridge between these two worlds? It's just one simple command.
This phrase right here, mini challenge, this is the whole turning point. It's such a simple but powerful instruction. It basically says, okay, your turn. It's this low-stakes test that forces your brain to go find the information it just saw and actually apply the formula. This is the moment that true, deep learning really begins.
So let's kind of zoom out for a second and just summarize the big ideas we can pull from this. What makes this simple model so incredibly effective? Why does it work so well? Really, it all boils down to these four things. The Easy French Blueprint gives you that logical journey. It builds everything on a super simple and repeatable idea. It intentionally limits the tools so you don't get overwhelmed, and, most importantly, it forces you to switch from just watching to actually doing. This isn't just a plan for a French lesson, right? This is a universal recipe for effective communication.
And that leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. We live in a world that is constantly throwing more data, more features, more complexity at us. So is it possible that the most powerful tool we have isn't about adding more, but about intelligently taking things away? Is the real art of communication just the art of simplification? Something to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, want to know one of the easiest but most powerful ways to make your French writing sound, way less like a textbook and way more like a native speaker? Well, it's all about connection, and I'm about to show you exactly how to nail it.
So tell me if this sounds familiar. You write out a bunch of sentences in French. Every single one is grammatically perfect, but something just feels a little off. Kind of stiff, maybe a bit robotic. Trust me, you are not alone. It's a super common thing for learners.
Just look at these sentences here. I like coffee. I don't like tea. The weather is nice. I'm going to the park. Yeah, they're correct, but they feel like a list, right? Just a bunch of disconnected ideas. We're going to fix this exact problem starting right now.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about our goal. Then I'll give you 3 magic words for your toolkit. After that, we're going to do a quick practice drill, and we'll wrap up with a final challenge. It's going to be simple, focused, and really effective. Let's do it.
All right, Section 1, your next level French. The goal here is simple. We want to move beyond writing these short, choppy sentences and start weaving our ideas together so they have a smooth, logical flow. This one little change is going to totally elevate your writing. So how do we actually do that? Well, the solution is surprisingly simple: connector words. In French, they're called mots de liaison. You can think of them like tiny little words that act as the glue for your sentences, linking your thoughts and giving your writing this really natural, sophisticated rhythm. And that brings us right into Section 2, the magic connector words. I'm about to give you 3 must-have tools for your writing toolkit. Let's jump in and check out the first one. Our first magic word is muss. Now, you probably already know this one means but. Its job is to show a contrast, right? An opposition between 2 ideas. It basically signals to your reader, hey, we're changing direction here. And this example shows its power perfectly. Instead of 2 separate sentences, we get one fluid thought. I like coffee, but I prefer tea. See that? See how that one little word instantly links them together? So simple, but what a difference. Okay, our next tool is donc. This means so or therefore, and this one is all about logic. You use donc to show that one thing is a direct result of another. It's your classic cause and effect word. Remember that clunky example from the beginning? Look at it now. Il fait beau, donc je vais au parc. The weather is nice, so I'm going to the park. The connection is just crystal clear. One action leads directly into the next. So much better. And our final magic word for today is parce que. This is your why word. It means because, and you pull this one out whenever you need to give a reason or an explanation for something you've just said. For instance, I am tired because I worked a lot. The key thing here is that parce que always answers the question, why? Why are you tired? Because I worked a lot. It delivers that crucial piece of information. All right, you have the tools. Now for Section 3. It's time for a quick drill just to make sure they stick. Let's put these new words to the test. You ready? Okay, here we go. Have a look. Il pleut, je prends mon parapluie. Is the connection here a contrast, a consequence, or a reason? Think about it for a sec. If you were thinking donc, you are absolutely right. It's raining, so I'm taking my umbrella. Taking the umbrella is a direct consequence of the rain. Perfect. Nice job. Let's try one more. The sentence is, j'aime ce livre, pardon, l'histoire est intéressante. What's the relationship between these 2 ideas? Take a second. And the answer is parce que, of course. I like this book because the story is interesting. We're giving the reason why we like the book. Fantastic. You're getting the hang of this. And that brings us to our last section, the final challenge. We've talked about the tools, we've practiced together, and now, well, it's your turn to be the writer.
So here's your mission. It's really simple. Step 1, think of any 2 ideas. Step 2, pick the best connector, mais, donc, or parce que, to link them up. And step 3, write your new, more awesome French sentence. You now have the power to turn choppy statements into flowing, logical ideas. So the only question left is, what are you going to connect first? Go give it a try.
Welcome to The Explainer. You know, have you ever tried to learn a new skill online and you just get totally lost in this sea of information? Well, today we're going to deconstruct a really brilliant blueprint for teaching complex skills in just a matter of minutes. Seriously, it's a total game changer for anyone who wants to learn or teach more effectively.
I mean, this is the million-dollar question, right? For pretty much every educator and creator out there. In a world where our attention spans are just getting shorter and shorter, how do you make every single second count and actually deliver real, tangible skills? So, for our example, we're going to be using a lesson plan for teaching French writing. But hey, don't worry if you're not into learning languages. The real magic here is the universal teaching framework hidden inside. You can apply this to pretty much anything. So here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll set the stage with the challenge. Then we're going to unveil the 6-step blueprint itself, look at it in 2 key phases, and finally, we'll uncover the secret sauce that really makes it work so well.
All right, let's get into it. You know, to really appreciate just how elegant the solution is, we first have to understand the problem it's trying to solve. And the challenge is steep. The goal is to teach a practical writing skill. We're not just talking about memorizing words, but actually building paragraphs to total beginners. And here's the real kicker. You have to do it all in the time it takes to drink your morning coffee. No pressure, right?
So how in the world do you tackle a challenge that big in such a short amount of time? Well, the answer isn't to just cram in more and more information. Instead, this lesson plan uses a brilliant 6-step narrative arc that basically guides the learner on a journey from confusion to confidence.
And this is it. This is the entire lesson flow at a glance. It's a journey from, oh, I can't do this, to, whoa, I can't believe I just did that. Let's start by digging into the first 3 steps, which are all about getting the learner completely hooked. Okay, these first 3 steps are just crucial for grabbing a learner's attention and really setting them up for success. It's all about making them feel understood and showing them, look, there's a clear path forward here.
It all starts with the hook. And this is so much more than just a simple hello. It's your one chance to answer the learner's biggest unspoken question right at the very beginning. Why should I care about this?
Now, this is a perfect example of a powerful hook. It taps right into a common pain point, it shows empathy for the struggle, and it offers a clear, immediate solution, all in one sentence. It's fantastic.
So right after the hook, the intro comes in and sets a very clear expectation. It's like a promise you make to the learner. Hey, stick with me for just a few minutes and you'll be able to do this. That creates a real sense of purpose and motivation.
And next up, we have the example. This is brilliant. It's like showing someone a picture of the finished Lego model before you hand them the bag of bricks. It makes the goal real, it makes it tangible, and it shows them that, yes, this is actually achievable.
Okay, so once the learner is hooked and they know exactly where they're going, it's time to shift gears. We're moving from just passively watching to actively doing. And this is where the real learning happens.
And that brings us to maybe the most important step of all, the breakdown. This is where the teacher pulls back the curtain, takes apart that perfect example, and reveals the simple, repeatable formula that makes the whole thing work. You see? This is the aha moment. By breaking the paragraph down into a simple topic, detail, feeling structure, the whole process suddenly becomes way less intimidating. The teacher is giving the learner a practical tool they can use right away.
And here's a little pro tip from the source material that I just love. This simple instruction to add pauses. It's a small thing, but it's so powerful. It respects the learning process. It gives the learner a moment to just breathe, to think, and to let the information sink in before moving on. So after the breakdown, it's time for practice. This is a chance for the learner to try out their new skills in a really low-pressure environment, with the teacher right there to guide them. It's all about building confidence through actually doing it yourself. So what's the difference between practice and challenge? Well, think of it this way. Practice is like learning to ride a bike with training wheels on. The challenge is that moment where you take them off for the first time.
And that's the final step, the challenge. This is a chance for the learner to apply their new skill in a slightly different context. So the teacher might say, okay, now write a paragraph about your favorite hobby. This is what really solidifies the learning and proves to the student that, hey, they've actually mastered this. So we've walked through all 6 steps. Now let's kind of zoom out and look at the big picture. What is it that makes this blueprint so incredibly effective for teaching, well, just about anything? It really all comes down to a few core principles. This blueprint scaffolds the learning, building it up piece by piece. It provides a crystal clear roadmap. It pushes you from just watching to actually doing, and it builds your confidence through a series of these little small wins. It's honestly a masterclass in efficient and effective teaching.
And that brings us to our final thought. We've seen how this blueprint can be used to teach French writing, right? But what else could you teach with it? Seriously, think about it. From coding to science to art and design, the applications are just endless. So the real question is, what will you teach with it?
Hey there, and welcome. So if you've ever wanted to write in French but felt kinda stuck, you are in the perfect place. In this explainer, we are going to master 3 essential tenses that will give you the confidence to just get your ideas out there. All right, let's jump right in.
First up, let's talk about something that I think pretty much everyone can relate to.
You know the feeling, right? You sit down, you're ready to write something, an email, a message, whatever, and suddenly, poof, your mind goes as blank as the screen in front of you. Does that sound familiar?
Yeah, it's that little voice in your head that whispers, wait, is that right? What if I use the wrong ending? I'm here to tell you that is a completely, totally normal part of learning. Every single person who learns a new language has felt that. But today, we're going to start replacing that fear with a rock-solid foundation.
And you know what? The solution is so much simpler than you think. This isn't about memorizing hundreds of complicated rules. Nope. It's all about mastering 3 core tools. Think of these tenses like your personal multi-tool for writing in French. They're powerful, they're versatile, and you can take them with you anywhere.
And listen, before we even get into the grammar, let's just get this straight. The whole point of language is to connect with people, to share your thoughts, to communicate. Perfection, that can come later. Right now, our goal is just getting your message across.
Okay, tool number 1, le present. This is your workhorse. Seriously, it's the tense you're going to use most of the time. You use it for stuff that's happening right now, like I am talking, for habits like I drink coffee every morning, or just for general truths like the sky is blue. It's your anchor. It's the here and now.
Next up, when we want to talk about the past, we have le passé composé. I know the name sounds a little fancy, but the idea behind it is so simple. You use this for specific things that started and finished in the past. Think, I ate breakfast, or she watched a movie. The action is done. It's over. This is your main tool for telling stories about what's already happened.
And our third tool is for the future, le futur proche. This is the near future tense, and honestly, it's wonderfully easy. It's just the French way of saying I am going to do something. Like, I am going to call my friend, or we are going to leave soon. It's absolutely perfect for talking about your immediate plans.
So there we have it, our 3 tools: the now, the completed past, and the near future. But, theory is one thing. Let's actually see them in action. This is where it's all going to click.
Okay, look at this. It's so cool when you see it all laid out so clearly. Let's take the verb manger, which is to eat. In the present tense, le présent, it's je mange une pomme. Simple enough. I eat an apple. Now to talk about the past, notice the change, j'ai mangé. We add that little helping verb, a, from avoir, and we change the ending of manger. And for the future, je vais manger. We use the verb aller, vais, and then just pop manger on the end in its original form. It's the same basic action, just happening at 3 different times.
So here's the really important part, the pattern. Did you catch it? 2 of our 3 tenses follow a simple formula. They both use a helping verb. For the past, you're usually going to use avoir plus the past participle. And for the near future, you use aller plus the original verb. Once you see that pattern, it makes learning everything so much faster.
All right, you've seen the tools, you've seen the patterns. Now it is time to actually build something. Let's do a couple of quick exercises together.
Okay, here's the first one. The key word here is hier. That means yesterday. So we need the passé composé. How would you say we watched the movie? Go on, take a second to think about it. And there it is. avons regardé. Nous avons regardé le film. You got it. We use the new form of avoir, which is avant, and the past participle of regarder. See? You can totally do this.
Awesome. Let's try another one. This time our clue is demain, tomorrow. So we need the future proche. How would you say you are going to finish your homework?
Va finir. Exactly right. Demain, tu vas finir tes devoirs. We just take the to form of aller, which is va, and add the infinitive, finir. It's just such a logical, beautiful system once you see it in action.
Okay, you've done the practice runs, and now it's time to put it all together. This is your moment. It's time to take these tools and create something that is all your own.
And seriously, you've got this. Don't overthink it. We're not writing a novel here. This is all about taking that very first confident step with just 3 little sentences. So here's your challenge. I want you to write a tiny 3-sentence story about your day. First, 1 sentence about your morning using the passé composé, something like j'ai bu un café. Then, 1 sentence about what you're doing right now in the present. Maybe je regarde cet explainer. And finally, 1 sentence about your plans for tonight using the future proche, like je vais dîner avec des amis. That's it. Past, present, future. Your day, your story.
And I think this quote just perfectly captures why we're doing this. Grammar isn't just about a bunch of dry rules. It's the architecture. It's what you use to build little worlds with your words. Even a simple 3-sentence story can create a world for someone else to step into.
So, what are you waiting for? Grab a piece of paper, open a new note on your phone. You have the tools, you have the knowledge. That blank page, it isn't scary anymore. It's an invitation. So, what story are you going to tell? Do you ever wonder what makes a great lesson actually stick? Well, today, we're going to pull back the curtain on a really powerful formula for teaching and learning. Think of it like a blueprint. And as you're about to see, it's surprisingly simple and, honestly, incredibly effective. So, let's just dive right in with this pretty bold statement from our source material. You are an expert French teacher. Okay, I know, that probably sounds a little out there, right? But just stick with me here for a second. See, that line isn't really about whether you can speak French or not. It's a jumping off point to ask a much bigger, more important question. What's the secret sauce? What really goes into creating a lesson that genuinely works? You know, one that doesn't just throw information at you, but make sure you actually get it and remember it. And let's be super clear here. This isn't going to be about French verbs or anything like that. We're not learning French today. Instead, we're going to break down the structure of a lesson plan to uncover a universal blueprint, a system for teaching absolutely anything. Could be coding, could be cooking, could be how to give a great speech. It all works. All right, so let's get into it. Part 1, laying the foundation. Because you can't build a great house or a great lesson on shaky ground. It all has to start with total, absolute clarity. And that clarity, well, it really boils down to these 3 pillars. First, your topic. What specifically are you teaching? Then the target. Who exactly are you talking to? And finally, the goal. What is the one single measurable thing you want them to walk away with? If you don't have these 3 nailed down, you're basically just shouting into the wind. And check this out. What I love about this is how specific the source gets with the target audience. It uses this A1 to B1 scale, which is a real official framework for how well someone knows a language. It's just a fantastic reminder that knowing your audience isn't some vague idea. It means you got to know their exact starting point. So here's the big takeaway for this first part. Figuring out your topic, target, and goal at the very beginning isn't just busy work. It's what gives every single piece of your lesson, every example, every activity, a clear and defined purpose. It's the why behind the what. Okay, foundation is set. Solid. Now we can move on to part 2, the learn, fix, practice engine. This is the heart of the whole operation. It's the cycle where the real learning actually happens. And this right here, this is the entire roadmap. The source material lays out this simple, elegant 6-step structure. You start with a hook to get them interested, an intro to set the scene, and then you hit that core engine. You show common mistakes, you provide the fix, you reinforce it with practice, and you wrap it all up with a challenge. It's a perfect learning loop. But the absolute core of this whole thing, the part that really makes the magic happen, is that powerful 3-part cycle right in the middle. You show the problem, you provide the solution, and then, and this is key, you make it stick.
What makes this so smart is that it gets ahead of the curve. Instead of just teaching a rule and kind of hoping your student gets it right, You start by showing them a mistake they're probably going to make anyway. Then, right away, you follow up with the correction, and you explain not just what is right, but why it's right. It's brilliant.
But hey, just knowing the right answer isn't really enough, is it? That knowledge is still kind of flimsy. And that's where step 3, practice, comes in. The source calls for things like writing drills, basically active, focused practice that's designed to turn that new information into a real habit. That's how you lock it in.
Okay, so the learner has seen the mistake, learned the fix, and practiced the new skill. So, did it work? How do we know for sure? Well, that brings us to part 3, the proof of learning. And this is where it all comes together. The blueprint wraps up with something the source calls a mini challenge. And no, this is not some big, scary final exam. It's a small, focused activity where the learner gets to actually use everything they've just picked up.
And I absolutely love this way of framing it. The point here isn't to create stress, it's about building them up. It's a chance for the learner to prove to themselves that, yeah, they've actually got this. It's all about building that confidence.
Because really, the whole point of the challenge is to answer one simple question. Can they take what they just learned and use it in a slightly new or different situation? That right there, that's the true test of understanding. It shows they've moved from just repeating something to actually knowing how to use it.
So let's zoom out for a second and look at the whole picture one last time. Why does this simple blueprint work so well? It really all comes down to its incredibly smart, logical design.
I mean, this slide really says it all, doesn't it? The formula is a winner because it starts with a crystal clear goal, it tackles common mistakes head on before they become bad habits, it hammers home the learning with active practice, builds confidence with that final challenge, and gives you a logical, repeatable structure you can use for pretty much any topic under the sun.
At the end of the day, what we've just unpacked isn't just a lesson plan. It's more like a recipe, a proven recipe for creating those aha moments, for creating genuine understanding that actually lasts.
And that really just leaves us with one final thought, one big question. Now that you have the blueprint, what could you teach?
Hey everyone, you know that feeling, right? You need to send a quick message in French, and boom, that little flash of panic hits. Well, today we're going to totally solve that. We're going to break down exactly how to write those short, everyday messages so you can do it with complete confidence. Let's jump right in.
Yeah, I'm guessing this sounds pretty familiar. Maybe you want to send a quick thank you email or just a short note to a friend, but you just kind of freeze up. You're worried about getting it wrong, right? Well, that's the exact problem we're tackling today.
So here's our game plan. It's super simple. First up, why bother? We'll talk about why this is such a useful skill. Then we'll look at the anatomy of a message. After that, we'll stock up your phrase toolkit with all the words you'll need. And finally, we'll wrap up with the challenge so you can put it all into practice. All right, section 1, why even bother with this? Well, think about it. In today's world, a quick message is often the first real connection you make with someone. It could be anything, thanking a host, confirming plans. Mastering these little notes is a massive step towards actually using French in your real, everyday life.
And that's the real key right there. I mean, unlike struggling with complicated grammar rules that, let's be honest, you might not use for months, this is something you can use right now. It's about immediate, practical communication. And when you do that, your confidence just skyrockets because you're actually using the language, you know?
Okay, moving on to section 2. Let's break down the anatomy of a message. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty. I'm going to show you a complete example, and we're going to take it apart piece by piece. You'll see the formula is actually super simple.
Okay, check this out. It says, Bonjour Anne, merci beaucoup pour le café hier. C'était très sympa. Bis, Marc. See? It's just a simple, friendly note from Mark to Anne. All it's saying is, hey Anne, thanks so much for coffee yesterday. It was really nice. Kisses, Mark. That's it. Simple, friendly, and it totally gets the job done.
And here's the cool part. Pretty much every simple message you'll ever write follows this exact same 3-part structure. Seriously. You've got number 1, the greeting. That's your bonjour Anne. Number 2, the point. Merci beaucoup. And number 3, the closing. Bis, Marc. Greeting, point, closing. Once you've got that framework down, you can build basically any message you want. All right, section 3. Now that we have the blueprint, it's time to stock up your toolkit. We're going to load you up with the essential phrases, the actual building blocks you'll use to create your own messages.
But hang on, before we dive into the phrases, we have to talk about something that is absolutely crucial in French, the difference between tu and vous. This is a big one, guys. Tu is your informal you. You use it with friends, family, people you know well.
Vous is the formal you for strangers, your boss, anyone you need to show a bit more respect to. And trust me, getting this right is key because it changes pretty much everything.
So let's see how this actually plays out in practice. If you're going informal, writing to a friend, you do something casual like salut or coucou to start. And you might end with bises, which is like kisses or a warm sign-off. But if you're going formal, you stick to a classic bonjour and then sign off with something more professional, like cordialement. See the difference? It's all about the context.
Okay, now for the middle part of your message, the main point. Here are some of your essential, plug-and-play phrases. These are awesome. If you want to say thanks, it's merci beaucoup pour, and then just add the thing. Merci beaucoup pour le dîner. Easy. Think something was great? C'était super. Done. And for please, remember our tu and vous. It's s'il te plaît for informal and s'il vous plaît for formal. And a really nice one to use just before you sign off is à bientôt, which just means see you soon. All right, here we go. Section 4. This is where the magic happens. You've seen the structure. You've got your phrase toolkit all stocked up. You get the whole tu versus vous thing. So what's next? Well, now it's your turn to write.
And honestly, that's all there is to it. You have the 3 key parts, remember? Greeting, point, closing. And you've got a list of essential phrases to pull from. You are totally ready to do this.
So here's your challenge. I want you to actually write a short email to a friend. Let's call her Chloe. And all you have to do is thank her for dinner last night. It's informal, so you'll be using tu. Think about your greeting, your main point, and your closing. Go ahead and give it a try. And to wrap this all up, I want to leave you with one final thought. Forget the challenge for a second and think about your own life. What's that one message you've always wanted to be able to write in French? Maybe it's a thank you note to someone or just a quick message to a colleague. The point is, you now have the tools. So my question to you is, what are you going to write first? Hey there, and welcome. Today, we're going to totally transform your French writing. We're tackling one of the biggest hurdles in learning any new language, going from those simple, separate sentences to creating thoughts that just flow. Okay, let's just dive right in. We're kicking things off with a problem that I bet every single French learner has run into. You know that feeling, right? Your sentences are grammatically perfect, but when you read them out loud, they just sound a little stiff, a bit robotic. So, I want you to think about your own writing for a sec. Have you ever written something where every sentence is just short, to the point, and completely separate from the next one? If that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. Take this for example. Il est fatigué. Il va dormir. He is tired. He is going to sleep. I mean, technically nothing's wrong with them, right? They're correct. But together, they feel kind of choppy. They're missing that natural rhythm. So what's the fix? By the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do. So what's the big secret? Well, it's not about memorizing hundreds of complicated grammar rules, I promise. It's actually all about mastering 4 incredibly useful and simple words. I like to call them your 4 super connectors. Seriously, look at this. So much power packed into just 4 little words. You've got et for adding things together, mais for when ideas clash, parce que for explaining why, and donc for showing the result. These are the absolute building blocks for making your French sound amazing. All right, theory is great, but seeing is believing, isn't it? So let's put these guys to work and see the magic happen. We're going to see exactly how they can turn those basic sentences into really flowing thoughts. First up, probably the most common one you'll use, and. Its job is super simple, but also incredibly powerful. It just links 2 similar ideas into one seamless phrase. So instead of saying, j'aime le café, j'aime le thé, I like coffee, I like tea, which sounds kind of clunky and repetitive, you know? Look at the after version. J'aime le café et le thé. I like coffee and tea. It's cleaner, more elegant, and it's just how a native speaker would actually say it. Next up, we have mais, which means but. This is your go-to word anytime you have 2 ideas that are kind of fighting each other. It's perfect for creating a little contrast, a little drama. Check this out. Il veut sortir, il pleut. He wants to go out, it's raining. 2 totally separate thoughts. But when you add mais, you get il veut sortir, mais il pleut. Bam! You capture the whole story in one go, the desire versus the reality. It makes so much more sense. Okay, now let's talk about parce que. This one is absolutely essential. It means because, and it's your golden ticket to giving a reason for something. Basically, it's how you answer that all-important question, why?
So in the before box, we've got Je suis content, c'est mon anniversaire. I am happy, it is my birthday. Two separate facts. But connect them with parce que, je suis content parce que c'est mon anniversaire. And you're suddenly telling a story. You're connecting the what with the why.
And our final super connector for today is donc, which means so or therefore. Think of this as the other side of the coin to parce que. So if parce que is all about the reason why, donc is all about the result, what happens next.
Hey, remember that choppy sentence from the very beginning? Il est fatigué, il va dormir. Well, here it is, the big reveal. Il est fatigué, donc il va dormir. He is tired, so he is going to sleep. See how donc builds that logical bridge? It just clicks.
Okay, you've seen how they work, you've seen the huge difference they make. Now it's your turn to get in the driver's seat. Let's do a couple of quick drills to really get these connectors locked into your brain.
All right, first one up. Elle aime la musique. Elle n'aime pas danser.
She likes music. She doesn't like to dance. Which of our 4 super connectors would you use here? I'll give you a second. Did you get it? If you said mais, you nailed it. It's a perfect contrast, right? Elle aime la musique, mais elle n'aime pas danser. It connects those 2 opposing ideas just flawlessly. Great job.
All right, you're on a roll. Let's try one more. Je vais au supermarché. J'ai besoin de lait. I'm going to the supermarket. I need milk. How would you link these 2 up? Think about the relationship there.
And the answer is parce que. Of course. The reason you're going to the supermarket is because you need milk. Je vais au supermarché parce que j'ai besoin de lait. It explains the why. See? You're totally getting the hang of this. Okay, you're doing awesome. To really make this all stick, we're going to wrap up with one final challenge that brings everything we've talked about together. It's a super simple process, just 3 steps. You're going to read the sentences, pick out the best connectors from your new toolkit, and then build your new amazing sentence. Okay, here we go. 3 ideas. Le film est intéressant. Je suis un peu fatigué. Je vais rentrer à la maison. The movie is interesting. I'm a bit tired. I'm going home. Your challenge, should you choose to accept it, is to blend all 3 into one beautiful sentence. You can pause and give it a shot. Okay, ready? A fantastic way to connect them would be Le film est intéressant, mais je suis un peu fatigué, donc je vais rentrer à la maison. The movie is interesting, but I'm a bit tired, so I'm going home. See how we use 2 of our tools to link all 3 parts logically? And that right there is the magic of these connectors. The second you start thinking about how your ideas relate to each other, cause, contrast, result, you can take those choppy sentences and make them sound elegant and natural. You've got the tools. Now go out there and make your French flow.
Hey there and welcome. Are you ready to take your French writing from, just okay to absolutely amazing? Today, we're going to unlock a really simple but super powerful technique to make your sentences pop and bring your French to life. Let me show you exactly what I'm talking about.
Just look at the difference here. On the left, you've got a simple fact. Le chien joue. The dog plays. I mean, it's correct, sure, but it's kind of just a sketch, right? Now look to the right. Suddenly we have a whole story. We've got a sunny garden, a brown dog, a red ball, a feeling of joy. So how do we get from that simple sketch to this full-color picture? Well, that's exactly what we're going to break down.
So, have you ever written a sentence in French and just thought to yourself, yeah, okay, that's technically right, but it feels so flat? If so, you are so not alone. It's a really common place to be as a learner. You've got the grammar down, but that spark, that magic, it just isn't quite there yet.
And here is the best part. The secret to getting that spark isn't about memorizing 50 new verb conjugations or some crazy complex grammar rules. No way. It's actually much simpler, and honestly, a lot more fun. It's all about learning how to add the right kind of details.
Okay, so let's get into our first section, the building blocks themselves. I want you to think of details as the colors you use to paint a picture. Your simple sentence is just the black and white sketch, and these details, they're what make it vibrant and feel real.
Right, and that's the big question, isn't it? It's easy for me to just say add details, but what does that even mean in practice? How do we find them? Which ones should we choose? Well, it all starts with just being a little bit curious.
Think of it like this. Your simple sentence is like a locked treasure chest. And these little questions, they are the keys.
When you ask where, when, why, and how, you automatically start unlocking all the rich, interesting details you need. This right here, this is the core of the whole technique.
Now, let's put those question keys into action with a really practical method. We're going to call it the 3-sentence method. And the goal is simple, to take one basic idea and expand it out into a rich, 3-sentence mini story.
All right, here's our starting block. L'homme lit and leave. It's a perfectly fine sentence. The grammar is solid, it's clear, but it's just a sketch. Who is this guy? Where is he? Why is he reading this book? Let's start painting the picture.
So here's the process, and it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. First, we take our basic sentence. Second, we use our question words to flesh it out. Let's ask, where is he? And why is he reading? And third, we just add 2 more sentences to explore those details and really build a little world around him. And boom! Check out the result. We started with, the man reads a book. Now we have, in the noisy cafe, the man reads a book to escape. See, we answered where in a noisy cafe and why to escape. The next 2 sentences create this amazing atmosphere. The scent of coffee mixes with the smell of old paper. He smiles, lost in another time. That simple little sentence now has a soul.
Okay, so you've seen how it works. Now it's your turn to give it a shot. And don't worry, we're going to do this one together. Getting your hands dirty is the best way to learn.
So here's your canvas, Le Chat dort. The cat sleeps. Just take a second. Go ahead and pause if you want to, really. Ask yourself, where is this cat sleeping? When is it sleeping? How? Why? Just see what ideas pop into your head.
You ready? Okay, here's just one way you could do it. You could start with, on the windowsill, the black cat sleeps deeply under the afternoon sun. And from there, we add more feeling. Its whiskers twitch with every little dream. Nothing can disturb its peace. See how we answered where and when to make that scene feel totally real?
But listen, here's the most important thing. Your version is probably completely different from mine, and that is awesome. Maybe your cat was curled up by a fireplace or on a big pile of laundry. There is no single right answer here. This is all about unleashing your own creativity.
All right, you've learned the theory, you've watched the demo, and we did a practice round together. Now, it's time for you to take the wheel. This is your chance to really make this skill your own. Your final mission, should you choose to accept it, is this sentence. Elle marche. She walks. It's so simple, but it is just full of possibilities. Where is she walking? Why is she walking? How is she walking? What's she feeling? It's your story to tell. And don't forget your toolkit. Just start with Elle marche. Ask those powerful little questions. Where, when, why, how? And then just weave your answers into a beautiful 3-sentence story. You've totally got this.
You know, a technique like this doesn't just change a sentence, it really changes how you see language itself. It starts to turn you from just a student into a storyteller. So the real question is, with this new power at your fingertips, what story are you going to tell?
Hey there, are your French sentences feeling a little boring? Don't worry, we're gonna fix that, and fast. In the next few minutes, we're taking your French descriptions from bland to absolutely grand.
Okay, just look at these 2 sentences. On the left, c'est un chat. It's a cat. Does the job, right? But then look at the right. C'est un petit chat noir. It's a small black cat. You just feel the difference, don't you?
Yeah, it's the second one, for sure. It paints a way better picture in your head. And that little bit of magic, that power to add all that extra detail, it all comes from one incredibly simple tool. So what is the secret weapon? Well, it's the one thing that's going to make your French sound more vivid, more authentic, and honestly, just a lot more fun. And the secret weapon is the adjective. It's just a fancy word for a describing word. Think of adjectives as the spices in your cooking. They're what add all the flavor and personality to your sentences. Now, to use these things right in French, you only need to remember 2 golden rules. Seriously, just 2. Number 1, placement. Most of the time, the adjective goes after the thing it's describing. And number 2, agreement. The adjective has to match the noun's gender and number. If you can nail these 2, you are good to go. So check this out. We don't say a noir chat like we would in English. Nope. We say a chat noir. The description, noir, comes after the noun chat. It feels weird at first, but trust me, you'll get the hang of it and it'll become totally natural. All right, enough theory. Let's put this stuff into practice. First up, we're going to use adjectives to describe people and really bring them to life. And here you can really see that agreement rule we just talked about. See how grand gets an E on the end to become grande if you're talking about a woman? It's the same deal for petit and intelligent. Oh, and sympathique is a great one. It's a little cheat code because it works for both.
And look how it all comes together in a sentence. We're talking about a female friend, Jamie, so we use the feminine forms, intelligente and sympathique. See? You can just stack them up to build this really rich, full picture of someone.
Now here's the best part. The exact same rules we just used for people, they work for describing literally everything else. Places, things, you name it. You're just using your words to create a scene. And here we go again. See the pattern? Beau for masculine, belle for feminine. Nouveau becomes nouvelle. And yep, even colors like bleu get that extra E for the feminine version. Once you see this pattern, you can't unsee it. This is a perfect example. The word for house, maison, is a feminine noun. So, what does that mean? Yup, the adjectives describing it have to be feminine too. So it's not grand, it's grande, and not beau, but belle. La grande maison est belle. It just rolls off the tongue.
Okay, that's enough of me just talking at you. Now it's your turn to play around with this. Let's do a couple of quick drills just to make sure this stuff really sticks.
So you see a blue car. In French, the word for car is voiture. And, pro tip, it's feminine. So how would you say the car is blue? Go on, take a second. Think about that agreement rule. Did you get it? La voiture est bleue. Awesome. We use bleu with that E at the end because voiture is feminine. See? You're totally getting this. Okay, one more. Let's keep the momentum going. A big house. We already know that maison is feminine. So how do you say the house is big? Yes, exactly. La maison est grande. Again, we just pop that E onto grande to make it match with maison. You're doing great. Okay, you know the rules, you've done the practice, now it's time to take off the training wheels and apply this to your own life. I've got one last mission for you. Right now, wherever you are, just look around you, pick one or two things and describe them in one single French sentence. Is your room big? Small? Is a wall white? Is a chair comfortable? Don't even worry about getting it perfect, just give it a shot. Go. Because that's what this all boils down to. Learning adjectives, it's not just about memorizing boring grammar rules. It's about getting the power to share your world with other people, to paint a picture with your words of what you see. So, what does your world look like? What if I told you that you could totally transform your French with a habit that takes just a few minutes a day? Well, today, we're going to build that exact skill, a daily writing habit. And yeah, we're starting right now. You know that feeling, right? You sit down, you're all ready to practice, you open your notebook, and then just nothing. That little blinking cursor on the screen, it feels like it's judging every single word you don't type. It's a feeling every language learner gets. You really want to improve, but you're just paralyzed about where to even begin. Okay, let's completely flip that script. This is not about writing perfect, flawless essays. Not at all. This is about building a simple, totally achievable habit that could actually make writing in French the best part of your day. So, how are we going to do it? Well, our first mission, should you choose to accept it, is to conquer that blank page. And we're going to do it with a really simple but incredibly powerful technique, the 5-minute habit. So let me introduce you to the 5-minute French habit. The whole concept is pretty much right there in the name. You write in French for just 5 minutes every single day. That's it. Seriously. There's no pressure to be perfect, no need to write a whole novel. The goal, at least at first, isn't about quality. It's just about showing up. I know what you're thinking. Only 5 minutes? Come on, how can that actually make a real difference? But see, the magic isn't in how long you do it, it's in the consistency. So let's break down exactly why this one tiny action can have such a huge impact. Okay, first up, it builds momentum. I think we can all agree, the hardest part of any new habit is just getting started. But 5 minutes, that's so easy, so non-threatening, that there's really no good excuse not to do it. And then one day becomes 2, 2 becomes a week, and suddenly you've built this powerful chain of consistency. That momentum is what's going to carry you forward. Second, it cements your vocabulary.
You know, you can stare at flashcards all day long, but the real learning, that happens when you actually use the words. By writing every day, you're actively pulling those words from your memory and putting them into a real context. This is what moves vocabulary from just passive knowledge, words you kind of recognize, to active knowledge, words you can actually use on your own.
And third, and this one is a big one, it creates confidence. Every single time you finish your 5 minutes, you're basically sending a message to yourself that says, I did it. I can write in French. Each of those small successes is like a little building block for your confidence, and pretty soon that scary blank page starts to look more like an opportunity.
So this is the most crucial point. So I really want you to hear this. You have to let go of the need to be perfect. Your grammar is going to have mistakes. You're going to forget words. And that's not just okay, it's a necessary part of the whole process. The real victory here is just showing up every single day. Consistency, that's the prize.
All right, so the theory is simple enough, right? But how do we put it into practice? Let's get into the simple, practical steps you can take to make this a part of your routine, starting like right now.
It honestly could not be simpler. Step 1, grab your tool. Could be a physical notebook, could be a Google Doc, whatever works. Step 2, pick a prompt. And don't worry, we'll get to those in a second. 3, set a timer for 5 minutes. This part is key. It gives you a clear finish line. And finally, the most important step of all, just write. Don't stop to look up words, don't erase every other sentence. Just let your thoughts flow in French.
And if you're sitting there wondering what to write about, here are some super simple prompts to get you started. These are all low-pressure topics that use everyday vocab. What'd you have for breakfast? What's the weather like? What are you doing this weekend? The whole idea is to remove the friction of trying to decide what to write so you can just focus on, the writing itself.
So, you've got the tools, you've got the prompts. Now let's turn this little idea into a real challenge, something that will deliver results you can actually see and feel in just 1 week. Just think about how you feel right now. Maybe a little intimidated by writing in French. Maybe you're a bit inconsistent. Now, imagine a week from today. That hesitation could turn into motivation. That intimidation can absolutely become real confidence. This is the kind of transformation we're talking about. It's totally possible.
So here it is. I'm officially inviting you to take this 7-day writing challenge. Think of it as a simple commitment you can make to yourself and to your French progress for just 1 week. So here's your mission. It's really straightforward. Write for 5 minutes every day. Try to use a different prompt each time just to keep things fresh. And the goal is to do it for 7 days in a row. That's it. 7 days to build the foundation of a brand new habit. And remember, this isn't just about practicing French. It's about proving to yourself that you can build the kinds of habits that lead to fluency. You are taking control of your learning journey, 5 minutes at a time.
So I'll just leave you with this question. Imagine yourself 7 days from now, having written in French every single day. How are you going to feel? What will you have learned about yourself? Well, there's only one way to find out. It's time to pick up that pen and start.
Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're going to tackle one of the biggest, most common hurdles when you're learning a new language. How to finally stop translating in your head and just, start thinking and writing directly in French. We're going to walk through a really powerful blueprint to make that happen. All right, let's jump right in.
So, let me ask you this. Does this whole process sound familiar? You get an idea, you shape it perfectly in English, and then you begin that slow, kind of clunky process of translating it, piece by piece, into French. If you're nodding your head right now, you know exactly how frustrating that is. But what if I told you there's a much, much better way? You see, that whole process we just talked about, it's not really a learning step on the road to fluency. It's actually a trap. We call it the translation trap. And honestly, it's the main thing that keeps so many people from ever sounding truly natural and spontaneous.
Think of it this way. You want to get from point A, which is your thought, to point B, a nice, clean French sentence. Well, the translation trap makes you take this long, winding, frustrating detour right through your native language. It's super inefficient, it's where a ton of grammatical errors creep in, and it just completely kills the natural rhythm of the language.
So, the big question is, how do we get out of this trap? Well, you need a map. And for us today, that map is this 5-step fluency blueprint. It's a really clear, structured path that's designed specifically to help you build a direct highway from your thoughts straight into fluent French writing.
And here's what that path looks like. We've actually already covered the hook in the intro. Next, we're going to look at some really clear examples, and then we'll dive into what is absolutely the most important part: practice.
We'll wrap it all up with a challenge, just to prove to you that this whole thing really works. This is how we're going to bypass that translation trap for good.
Okay, so let's get into the core of this technique, because the real goal here isn't just about writing in a new way. It's about fundamentally rewiring how you think when you even approach the French language.
The key skill that we're trying to build here is something called thought-to-sentence conversion. Now, I know it sounds a bit technical, but the idea behind it is actually beautiful and simple. It's just the ability for your brain to grab a concept or an idea or an image and immediately turn it into a French sentence, totally skipping that English middleman.
And this slide just lays it out perfectly. On the left, you've got the old way, the translation trap, that slow, three-step slog. But on the right, that's our goal, a clean, direct, two-step connection. That is the mental pathway we want to pave in our brains. So the real question is, how do we train ourselves to do that automatically?
Well, the answer is practice. But, and this is a huge but, it's not just any kind of practice. It has to be targeted, intentional exercises that are designed to forge that new neural pathway to make it the default setting for your brain.
And we do this with a tool called writing drills. The whole idea here is to build up a kind of mental muscle memory. You know, just like a basketball player drills free throws until it's second nature. These exercises train your brain to respond to a prompt directly in French again and again and again until it just becomes an instinct.
And what's so great about this is how simple, yet how incredibly effective these drills are. You take a basic prompt like, describe your breakfast. Now the goal isn't to think, oh, I ate a croissant, and then start translating word for word. No, the goal is to see that prompt and have your brain's first reaction be, j'ai mangé un croissant. See? It forces that direct connection we've been talking about.
Okay, so you've got the concept down. You've been putting in the work with the writing drills. Now it's time to put it all together and prove to yourself that this system really works. This is the final step of our blueprint.
Think of the mini challenge as your graduation test. It's a slightly more complex task, something like writing a short paragraph about your day or your weekend, completely in French with zero pre-translation. Its real purpose is to solidify this new skill and, maybe most importantly, to build that confidence that yes, you absolutely can think and write directly in French.
So when you step back and look at it, what have we really done here? We've laid out a path to go from that clunky, mechanical process of translating to a fluid, natural instinct for writing in French. It really is a total transformation in how you engage with the language.
So let's do a quick recap. The key takeaway here is that this method lets you completely bypass that awful translation trap. You do it by consciously building a new, direct mental pathway. And you build that pathway through structured, repeatable practice, those writing drills, with the ultimate goal of making French writing feel as natural and as instinctive as speaking.
And I'll leave you with this one last thought to chew on. When you train yourself to think directly in another language, you're not just learning a new way to communicate. In a sense, you're actually installing a brand new operating system for your thoughts. So the real question is this: what if fluency isn't just a skill you learn, but an entirely new way of thinking?
Hey there. So let's talk about something that trips up pretty much every French learner: correcting your own writing. You know that feeling, right? You go to write a simple message, an email, whatever, and your brain just freezes. That fear of making a mistake can be totally paralyzing. Well, let me tell you, you are so not alone in this. And the best part, we are going to turn that fear into confidence, like right now. In just the next few minutes, you're going to have the tools you need. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We'll start by ditching the fear of mistakes. Then we'll look at some super common hurdles. I'll hand you your own editing toolkit. We'll do a quick practice run together, and then you get to tackle the final challenge. Sound good? Let's jump in. All right, first up, and this is a big one, we have got to get okay with making mistakes. I'm serious. It's not just okay, it's actually how we learn. I really love this way of thinking about it. Every little error isn't a failure. Nope. It's more like a little arrow pointing and saying, hey, learn this next. It's basically your own private, totally customized French lesson. Okay, feeling a little braver? Good. Now, let's shine a spotlight on a couple of the most common little traps that French learners fall into. Seriously, just knowing what they are is half the battle. Ah, the classic. This is all about adjective agreement. See, in French, your adjectives have to match the noun they're talking about. Voiture is a la word. It's feminine, so blanc has to change to blanche to match it. It seems like a tiny thing, but it makes all the difference. And here's the other biggie. noun gender. I know, it can feel totally random sometimes, but it's just one of those core rules. Like, problème ends in an E, so you might think it's feminine, right? But nope, it's masculine. It's always le problème. Getting the hang of these is a total game changer, I promise.
So, the big question is, how do we catch these little mistakes ourselves? Well, I'm about to give you a super easy 3-step fix. It's like your own personal editing toolkit that you can use every single time. Here it is, your 3-step plan. Step 1, hunt down those nouns. Did you use the right le or la? Step 2, check your adjectives. Do they match up with the nouns? And step 3, and this one's my favorite, read it out loud. Seriously, your ears will often catch something that just sounds off, even when your eyes miss it. It's a super powerful trick.
Okay, you've got the toolkit. Now let's actually use it. We'll do this first one together, so no pressure at all. Let's just see how it works.
Okay, take a look at this sentence right here. Just take a quick second, run it through that 3-step checklist in your head. What's jumping out at you? Yes, that's it. You got it, right? Maison is feminine. We say la maison. So that means our adjective grand needs that little E on the end to become grande. See? So much easier when you know exactly what you're looking for.
Awesome job on that one. Okay, the practice round is over. Now it's your turn to take the wheel. You've totally got this. All right, here is your final challenge. I'll give you a little hint. There are 2 things to fix in this sentence. Read it carefully, use those 3 steps, and see if you can spot what needs to change. Go ahead, I'll give you a sec. So, did you find them? The first one was the gender of robe. It's a feminine word, so it should be une robe, not un. And that means, you guessed it, the adjective has to match. So blue needs that extra E to become bleu. If you got both of those, seriously, that is amazing work. Let's just take a step back and look at what you just did. In like 5 minutes, you've learned how to spot some of the most common mistakes, you've got a simple 3-step toolkit in your back pocket, and you've already started correcting sentences. That's a huge deal. See, you literally just turned that writing fear into a real skill. So I have one last question for you. Now that you know you can do this, what's the very first thing you're going to write in French? Maybe a text to a friend or a quick note for yourself? Whatever it is, just go for it. Thanks so much for joining me. Let's be real for a second. Writing in French can feel, well, slow, painful even. If that sounds familiar, you are in exactly the right place. We are about to change all that and get your words flowing freely. Ah, the blank page. We've all been there, right? You see that blinking cursor just taunting you. You know in your head what you want to say, but trying to find the right words in French feels like this huge, impossible mountain to climb. It's a frustration every single language learner feels. But guess what? We're going to fix that, starting right now. In just the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a super simple but really powerful method to turn all that hesitation into actual confidence and speed. So what's the big secret to writing faster? You might think it's about memorizing more vocabulary or, 1,000 more grammar rules. But it's not. It's all about changing your approach. It's a total shift in your mindset. Okay, look at this. This pretty much says it all. Over on the left, you've got the slow writing brain. It's that little voice in your head that's obsessed with everything being perfect. It's always second-guessing, asking what's the perfect word, and telling you you're too slow. But on the right, that's our goal. The fast writing brain. Its only mission is to get ideas down on the page. Its motto is good enough for now. It knows that every word, perfect or not, is a win. It's building fluency. So, how do we actually get from that slow brain to the fast brain? It's all about these 3 simple keys to unlock your speed. They are think fast, write timed, and ignore mistakes. Let's break each one down. Okay, key number 1, think fast. Right now, your one and only job is to get what's in your head onto the page. That's it. Don't stop. Don't get hung up searching for some fancy, perfect word. Just use the simple words you already know and trust. Your first thought is almost always your best thought for this exercise, so just go with it. Next up, our secret weapon, the timer. Now, this might sound stressful, but trust me, it's the opposite. It creates positive pressure. It forces that overthinking, critical part of your brain to just shut up for a minute. You don't have time to worry, you only have time to write. And you don't need a lot of time. Start small. Seriously, 60 or 90 seconds is absolutely perfect. And finally, the most liberating key of all, you have permission to ignore your mistakes. For now, anyway. This is not a final exam, it's a workout. The #1 priority is flow. We want momentum. So what if you use the wrong gender for a noun or misspell a word? You can fix all that later. A page that's full of mistakes is a million times better than a page that's blank. It's proof that you're actually doing the work.
All right, that's enough theory. The only way to really get this is to actually do it. So let's jump into a quick practice session. I want you to grab a pen and paper or just open a new document on your computer. We're about to do a 90-second writing dash.
Okay, your topic couldn't be simpler. You're just going to describe your day so far. What did you do this morning? What did you have for lunch? Anything. Just keep it simple. And remember our 3 keys. Think fast, get ready for that timer, and you are going to ignore every single mistake.
All right, you see that number? 90 seconds. That's all. Your only goal is to keep your hand moving or your fingers typing for that entire time. I mean it. Whatever you do, don't stop. Okay, are you ready? On your mark, get, set, go. Go ahead and pause this explainer right now, write for your 90 seconds, and come right back when you hear the timer go off.
And you're back. How did that feel? Probably a little chaotic, a little messy, right? But you did it. You wrote. And that feeling really brings us to this perfect French proverb. Fait vaut mieux que pas fait. It literally means done is better than perfect. And that messy, imperfect paragraph you just wrote, that's beautiful proof of this idea in action.
So, that felt pretty good, didn't it? The key now is to take that feeling from this one-time exercise and turn it into a real, powerful, confidence-building habit. So here's your mini challenge. I want you to try what I call the 3-minute daily journal. It is so simple. Every day, you set a timer for just 3 minutes and you write. It can be about anything. Your plans for the day, what you see outside your window, the dream you had last night, it doesn't matter. There's only one rule. You cannot stop writing until that timer ends. This is how you build real writing muscle. And really, that's it. That's how you break free from that slow, frustrating cycle. You've learned the mindset, you've tried the technique. The only thing left to do is to keep that momentum going. So I'll leave you with just one question to think about. What are you going to write about tomorrow?
All right, let's get right into it. You know, have you ever stopped to think about what makes a great teacher great? It's funny, because sometimes the biggest aha moments, the real genius, it's hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to break down this absolute masterclass in how to teach. And get this, we found it inside a simple script template for a French lesson. Seriously. And it turns out, it's pretty much a secret blueprint for teaching anything.
So here's the big question, right? It's the challenge for literally anybody trying to teach something these days. I mean, let's be real. Attention spans are not what they used to be. So how do you actually take someone from total beginner to, oh, I can do this, and do it in just a couple of minutes? Well, the thing we're looking at today has a shockingly simple and smart answer. So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to uncover the core blueprint itself. Then, we'll look at how it grabs your attention right from the start. After that, it's all about the practice zone. That's where the real learning kicks in. Then we'll see how it makes sure you don't forget what you learned. And stick around for the end, because we've got the final secret ingredient that ties it all together. Okay, section 1. Let's start with the foundation. This thing we found isn't just a script for one French lesson. Oh no, it's way more than that. It's a powerful, repeatable framework you could use for, well, just about anything you want to teach.
Think about it. The hardest part of teaching online is getting people from just understanding an idea to actually being able to do the thing, you know? It's like the difference between watching a cooking show and actually knowing how to not burn dinner. This blueprint is built specifically to solve that exact problem.
And here it is, the secret recipe. It's just 6 simple but super powerful steps. You got the hook, the intro, the task, the actual writing part, a review, and finally, a challenge. Now, each one of these has a very specific job to do. It's all about guiding the learner, step by step, from being just curious to actually feeling competent. The beauty of it is just how simple and logical it is. Let's really dig into why this order is just perfect. So, how does this whole thing kick off? Well, it starts with a fundamental truth. You can't teach anyone anything if they're not listening. That first impression, those first few seconds, they're absolutely everything.
And this is so smart. The blueprint uses the first 2 whole steps for just one job, getting and keeping your attention. The hook snags you with a question or something surprising. Then the intro jumps in and quickly tells you what you're going to learn and why you should even care.
It's only after you're locked in that the real lesson begins. All right, now we get to the good stuff, the heart of the lesson. This is the moment where we stop just watching and we actually start doing. This is where the magic really happens. Now, this is all based on a proven idea from education called active learning, and it's really simple. We learn things way better by actually trying them out, not just by having someone talk at us. And this blueprint doesn't just mention it, it literally builds the whole lesson around it. So how does it pull that off? It's brilliant. The blueprint gives the learner a very clear, very doable task. Write a short paragraph. See, it's not some vague thing like, go practice. No, it's specific. It's a low-pressure activity that makes you use what you just learned immediately. That's such a great way to build confidence and make it all feel real. So, you've taught the skill. Great. But how do you make sure it actually sticks? That it doesn't just go in one ear and out the other? Well, this next part of the blueprint is all about making the learning permanent and building momentum. The review step is way more than just a quick summary. It's there to catch any mistakes before they turn into bad habits. It helps lock the skill into your memory. And really importantly, it gives you that little "I did it" moment that builds confidence. It's the perfect little connection from what you just did to what's coming up next. Okay, so you've learned something, you practiced it, you've reviewed it. The lesson could totally end right there. But a really great teacher, they don't want you to just stop. They want you to keep going, to stay curious. So what's the trick? The answer is so simple, it's genius. A mini challenge. This is such a great psychological move. It doesn't feel like more homework, it feels like a fun extra little quest. It takes that confidence you just built and uses it to get you excited to keep practicing and exploring, even after the explainer is over. So we have the perfect structure. Check. But let's be honest, even the best structure can be, well, boring. The very last instruction in this blueprint might just be the most important one of all. It's about taking all this great information and breathing life into it.
This right here is the secret sauce. I mean, it's the game changer. This one little instruction basically says, hey, how you say it matters just as much as what you say. It's telling you to stop sounding like a textbook and start sounding like a real, passionate teacher. And that is the difference between a lesson people just sit through and one they'll actually remember.
And look at the difference it makes. It's night and day. On one side, you've got something that sounds like it's from an old instruction manual. Correct, sure, but so dull. On the other side, you've got energy, you've got personality, you've got a real person who's excited to learn with you. This final polish is what turns information into an actual experience. So, what's the big takeaway here? We started with a simple prompt for a French lesson, right? But what we actually found is a universal framework for teaching pretty much anything. Hook them, give them a task, let them practice, check their work, and then dare them to go further. And through it all, just be a real, energetic person. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. Doesn't matter if you're teaching someone to code, explaining a business plan, or even showing them how to bake bread. This 6-step blueprint just plain works. So the real question is, what's that complex idea that you could break down and teach the world with this thing?